Okay, welcome to sales meeting, everybody. Happy Wednesday. Good to see all your smiley faces. All right, anybody have any wants and needs? We're going to get through these quickly because this is a CE class. So if you have something, speak up right now. Okay, I don't hear anything. Let's talk about the broker moment really quick. This is the biggest error we see made and caught by compliance is your buyer broker. Does anybody see anything wrong with this picture? Nobody knows what's wrong with this picture, huh?
There's no agent name.
What's that?
The agent name is not, it just says fast agent.
Oh, that was me being funny. It is, it's a fast agent filling this out too quickly. What's wrong with this is we fill out our real estate purchase contract that puts the date of the real estate purchase contract. But the buyer broker says that this is good through the end of, and we put today's date. So that's what's wrong with this picture. We put today's date. So you immediately do not have a buyer broker if you have someone sign that contract that's today's date ends. So our compliance catches that for our agents very often. Don't forget that the buyer broker is exact opposite of the rep seat. It says how long is this effective through? Not today. You want to go what, a year, 6 months, whatever it is. So don't forget, buyer broker is exact opposite. Okay. All right. Here's our upcoming classes for the week. That is also on our back end website and our front end website. Don't forget to use our calendar there and sign up for classes. Looks like we are teaching 6 hours of CE next week. So don't forget to catch those.
Yay.
Yeah. Congratulations to all our weekly closers. Those are 30 closings this last week. Way to go. Looks like we had quite a few duplicates and everything. Good job, everybody. All right. Our announcements again, we mentioned these last week, but again, we're doing the paper shredding event. If you want to join in, there's a couple more spots left. It's $50 per agent to invite all your clients to come in and shred their documents. Also doing agent headshots in our Pleasant Grove office on April 28th. If you want to come in and get headshots, please come in and get those. All right, I'm going to give 30 seconds, not 1 minute, to all our affiliates because we want to get moving on. Is White Knight Amy Corcoran on today?
I am.
Okay.
Hey, I just wanted to remind all of the Presidio agents that White Knight will offer a free clue report for any of your buyers. This gives a 7-year history of any claims that have been made on the property they are interested in purchasing or a contracted purchase. It is free to Presidio agents. Give us a call. We'll get that report out to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And is, let's see, Patrick Murphy of Home Warranty of America. Patrick is not on. How about Jack Andrews with Edge Homes? All right. How about, all right, we're going to move on. So our educator for the day is Beth Holman. Is that how you say it?
Holman, yes.
Holman, okay.
I'm with Stewart Title.
Stewart Title, and she is teaching a 1-hour core wire fraud. So if you want your CE, you must have your camera on at all times. Beth, you're welcome to take over now.
Thank you. I am actually the marketer for all of Utah County for Stewart Title. I actually will not be the instructor today. We have Mark Chandler with us today, who's legal counsel and part owner of Stewart Title of Utah. So he's much, much smarter than I am. So you definitely want to get the class from him and not me. A couple things I want to talk about really fast, things that we offer. Our customer service department can do farm searches for you and property profiles. And we also offer access to breakthroughbroker.com. I'm assuming Presidio offers some wonderful marketing pieces for you, but breakthroughbroker.com also does some beautiful postcards, flyers, videos, door hangers. They can do social media for you, presentations. They have over 500 resources, and that's offered to you free through us. We also have a web portal called stewartnow.com. If you go on there and sign in, that will give you access to our Stewart Now app, the phone app. That's another way that you can go in if you like to do things yourself. And if you're a techie, you can, again, do smart farms and property profiles. And they actually print out beautifully for your clients. We can also provide you with a list of addresses through this when we do when our customer service does the Smart Farms report, and you can print those right onto mailing labels. So if any of that sounds good to you, just reach out to me. I'm going to put my email address in the chat, and feel free to reach out if you have any questions. With that, I'm going to let Mark take it away. I lost Mark.
Well, Beth, I saw that the Backman was going to do a 2-hour class next week, and so I figured I had to up my game today. So I went and I haven't been using my Stewie puppet for the letters, but I wanted to do something that I was pretty sure that the Backman guy wasn't going to do. So,
oh, I forgot to mention the letters. Let me say really quickly. There is a Google Doc which Tana is going to make available to all of you. I need you to sign it and provide your license number so that you can all get your credits for today's class. Also, because it's a Zoom class, the state requires that during the class we hold up some letters, and you keep track of those letters. When you fill out the Zoom doc, put your name and then the 4 letters and then your license number, so that they just want to make sure that nobody is signing on and then wandering off.
Hey, Beth, let me interrupt. Can I interrupt a minute?
Go ahead.
We actually don't put the letters on the Google Doc. You just have people email you the letters at the end of the class.
Okay, I will go in and put my email address in right now.
Yeah. We just found that people were cheating. I know it. It's terrible.
Oh,
it's unbelievable.
That's right, because if somebody puts the letters on the Google Doc, then everybody sees the letters on the Google Doc.
Yeah, and it kind of defeats the purpose of the letters.
Now I get it. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm going to mute myself now.
All right. Well, thanks everybody. Thanks for having us again. It's good to kind of see everybody. We've been doing some live classes, and that's been a joy. It really has. It's nice to see people and know they're actually engaging. Although Beth's been dragging me to far-flung places. Had one in Brigham City yesterday. That was fun. Brigham City's a nice little town. When was the last time anybody was up in Brigham City? You know, you want to go someplace that's kind of nice and quiet and charming in Utah. It's you kind of have to drive anymore. It's getting pretty crowded around here. So it was kind of a nice little trip. So I enjoyed that. I'm not on the Chamber of Commerce for Brigham City, but you know, if you ever want to go up there at the end of summer, end of summer, that fruit belt can't be beat. It's just got all kinds of little shops where you can buy fresh fruit and flowers and all kinds of things. It's really a nice little trip. So that's my travel log for the day. So, well, how is everybody today? Everybody good? Did you have wind down there?
We have a lot of rain right now.
Yeah, we had bad wind up here last night. We thought our house was going to blow down, so we're glad to be alive. We're going to talk about several things today, kind of fraud related. Who's had the wire fraud class? Oh, Beth, did you mention how important it was for people to participate in these classes?
I did, but it was before everyone was on. Mark loves a high activity class. So he loves a lot of participation. Feel free to unmute and answer him because he does pay close attention to that. So everybody, just so you know, the unmute button is in your bottom left.
Yeah, well, it's not just me, it's the real estate division. The real estate division said, okay, listen, we're going to allow you guys to do these Zoom classes, but if you're not getting any participation from people, then don't give them credit for the class. Now, I have not personally done that, refused credit to somebody for not participating, because that's sort of bad PR. And we're actually doing this to curry favor with people. So I won't do that, but I would appreciate some interaction. So let me ask that again. Have we had some people that have had the mail fraud class?
I have not.
The wire fraud class.
I have.
Jennifer, you've had it. Has your office had it? Is this? They
have, but it was probably about 1.5 years ago. So we are ready for a good refresher.
Okay. All right. Well, and we'll dive right in. The solution to the problem is pretty simple, to tell you the truth, and it's been the same solution that we've had for the last year and a half, and we'll go over that a little bit. But I want to address a couple of other little issues that have come up, or that have not come, hopefully have not come up, but it's still sort of a matter of concern. There is a company that is advertising a product called Title Lock. And I'm getting a lot of questions about Title Lock. And what Title Lock is a company that for, I think, $15 a month will monitor the recording activity on your property at the county and report to you anything that's been recorded on your property. And the theory behind this product is that there is a lot of document fraud, recording fraud going on, where people are having mortgages and trust deeds and deeds recorded on their property, and that they could potentially that they were not aware of, and that this could potentially lead to a loss of the property. And so for $15 a month, they monitor your title, and then they report to you anything that's been recorded. I don't think it's a necessary product, personally. I'm not here to disparage anybody that's got an idea that they're trying to make money with. But if you're really worried about that, it's easy enough to do on your own, to check your own title or to call your title company and have them check it. But even more fundamentally, I've been in this business for 30 years, and I've just not ever seen this really be an issue, where somebody's just got something recorded against their property, and they go to close, and then there's something pops up that they were completely unaware of. You will hear some apocryphal stories about that happening, but I personally have not had any experience with it, nor of any of the people in our title company. And we've been in business for 40 or 50 years, and it just doesn't ring true. It's just highly unlikely that would happen. And this company doesn't do anything about it. I mean, if you do get notice that something has been recorded on your property, there's really nothing you can do about it. I mean, they don't do anything. So they're not saying that they can clear your title or get that recorded document taken off of your property. It's just that now you know that it's there, so you lose sleep at night. And once something is recorded, it cannot be unrecorded. Once something goes of record, it cannot be unrecorded. Now, depending on what it is, it could expire after a while. But these documents that this company is claiming are being recorded are not documents that have any kind of an expiration date on them. So once they are there, they're there. And if you can't get the entity that recorded that on your property to take it off, their only other recourse really is to get a lawyer and quiet title, find them, sue them if you have to, and quiet title to your property. So, if anybody's been looking at that product, I'm not sure that that's a worthwhile thing to worry about, to tell you the truth. And then the other thing that I do think is maybe worthwhile is, does anybody have an entity like an LLC that they have maybe some rental properties in? It is really easy to amend or to change online those filings for those organizations. So an LLC, for instance, when you create an LLC, you file articles of organization with the Commerce Department, and that can be changed and amended online. And so somebody could theoretically go in, if you have an entity, could go in and amend your documents to add themselves as a manager of your entity. And then as a manager of your entity, in theory, they could sell the property. Wow. And so the Division of Corporations actually will monitor your entity and let you know if any changes or any proposed changes have been made to it. And it costs $3, and it's really easy to get. And I think it's really worthwhile. $3 per entity. If you've got 5 entities, pay the $3, and then you'll get a notice. You'll get a notice from them saying that your articles have been amended or changed. And
I have a question.
Okay.
Is that $3 a month and you sign up for it?
That's $3 a year.
Okay.
And that's $3 a year.
Okay. And you sign up for it with the state?
Yes.
Okay.
And so next time if you don't want to do it now, next time you renew your entity, it will ask you on your renewal form if you want to, just check the box if you want to be notified of any changes to your entity. And so that's just a really easy way to do it. And we've not seen that in Utah yet, but I have received articles from the American Land Title Association that tells me that is an activity that is going on in other parts of the country. So that would be something that next time you renew your entity, you might want to look into. So, okay, anybody else have anything else? I've been in this business a long time, and I'm kind of old school, old fashioned. I miss the days of real kind of face-to-face fraud. The Ponzi schemes and the straw buyers and all that kind of weird stuff, and identity theft. We've had some interesting experiences over the years with people trying to pass themselves off on people that they are not, and it's very often family members. It's really easy if you've got the same name as your dad. It's really easy to go in and steal his ID and show up at a closing and try to sell the property because you've got the very same name. So, the picture ID is a little hard to overcome, but you really do see theft of identity occasionally. And that is something that is insured under a title insurance policy. So if there is a loss due to a loss of identity, that is something that could be a covered item. I'll just tell you one quick story, kind of unrelated. Many years ago, when we do a title search, we check judgments against buyers and sellers because those create liens on properties. And so we found a judgment against a fellow who it was for a paternity action. So, the mother of a child had gone on welfare of some sort, and the fellow had been found to be the father of the child and held responsible for the cost of the birth and child support. And we showed that on a transaction that we were trying to close. And the name on the judgment was identical to the vesting on the property. So obviously we thought, well, this judgment has got to be cleared. Well, so we called. Something seemed a little amiss about it. So I called the fellow who was on title to the property. And it turned out that the paternity action was against his son. And he was on a mission. And they were trying to sell his property. He was on a mission. They were trying to sell the property. And he didn't know anything about this paternity action. And I was the lucky fellow to be able to inform him that he had a grandchild that he was not aware of. So that was kind of an interesting experience. So get all kinds of things in this business. Right now, wire fraud is at the front of everyone's mind because it's a real problem. It's a serious problem. And so we sat in on a little tutorial through Stewart Title with an FBI agent and an attorney. And they threw out a couple of pretty interesting statistics. So statistic number one was from 2016 until now, 2020. I think we saw this in 2020. The total overall losses for mail fraud was $30 billion, which is quite a bit of money.
Wow.
30 billion bucks, and that the average loss per event was between $150,000 and $200,000. We've had a couple of smaller ones in our company, around 60. So we haven't had anything in the $150,000 to $200,000 range, and we've gotten a lot smarter about how to prevent these things, and so we haven't seen one for a long time. But that doesn't mean that people aren't still trying it. But the money is big. I mean, the money is very substantial. And as I'll talk about a little later, that's part of the reason why real estate transactions are a popular target for wire fraudsters, because the money is so big, and there is a lot of fog in the transaction, and a lot of parties that are vulnerable, right? You got the title company, you got the real estate agent, you got the lender, you got the buyer, you got the seller. So all these people, are passing communications back and forth. And so real estate transactions, just because of the complexity and the amount of money involved, are really vulnerable to wire fraud. So some of the other things that they talked about is that these wire fraudsters have a very strict and very well developed business model. These are not your one-off hackers sitting in their mother's basements, eating Oreos and hacking into your emails. These are very sophisticated people that are being funded by organizations that have money and sophistication, and this is the way they run their businesses. So it's very sophisticated, and it's continually being changed and improved. And so it kind of gets trickier and trickier to identify these people, and a lot of them are offshore. So usually when you see a wire fraud, the money is eventually going offshore, where it makes it harder to identify. Okay, I'm being informed that I've got to do my first letter. So again, I don't know that the Backman guy is going to have a puppet. This is our company mascot. His name is Stewie, and he's going to do the letters today. So did everybody see what that is?
When we made it.
Oh yeah, I made this puppet, by the way.
Is that
my wife made the letter and I made the puppet.
Is that an I or an L?
Neither one. It's a D.
Oh, I was looking. Oh, never mind.
Neither one. It's a D. Now remember what you have to do with these letters. You need to email these letters to Beth at the end of the class so that we know that you were actually here from beginning to end. Okay. And Stewie is actually an ordained minister, so he can actually marry people if you're interested in that. The other thing that this guy wanted to stress is that if you do run in or encounter an incident of wire fraud, that the first 24 to 48 hours are absolutely critical. You have to find out about it. You have to get with the proper authorities. The first 24 to 48 hours are critical. I'm going to read something from the American Land Title Association that actually says that the first 72 hours are critical. If you wait for 3 days to start to take some action on recovering money, for me, that's always been too long. I mean, the first few hours are really important to get with the right people, to identify what's happening, to get with the right people and try to recover this money. And money has occasionally been recovered. It's not an absolute that once the money goes, it's going it's never going to be recovered because it has been recovered. But what I have discovered is that the money that is recovered has been done so because of a very activist bank. So a bank that was notified early on and got it very involved in the recovery of the money. And there was a lawyer involved. And so I will kind of reiterate that, you know, lawyers have a way of making banks and credit unions sit up and take a little more notice about a complaint. And so I will talk a little bit more about that. But so that's sort of those are just sort of some current statistics from the pros. So 30 billion since 2016. You know, we were looking, interestingly enough, at a couple of bulletins that we got from Stewart Title. And one was from 2017 and one was from 2021. And they both identified the problem. And interestingly enough, the solutions were the same. And so the way to avoid wire fraud is really quite simple. You know, we could go over it in 5 minutes and I could tell you everything you need to know to prevent this from happening. And then we could talk about other things, but you know, that I wouldn't have given you the class. But it's really very simple. I mean, so somebody want to take a stab at it, and we'll elaborate on it later a little more, but anybody want to take a stab at how you prevent wire fraud from occurring for your clients?
Well,
Go ahead, Pauline.
Oh, sorry.
Well, just verify the account and the routing number.
It's just that simple. What do you mean verify it?
Make sure it's coming from the title company and not someone in between. So
right.
That's what I tell my clients. You get it right from them.
Yep, absolutely. And there are also there's also an even better way of doing it. Who knows what the even better way of doing it is?
Have your clients walk it in with the check.
Have your client be handed the wiring instructions directly from the title company. So, you know, do it the day of closing. Don't even accept an email with a wire instruction in it. Then you don't have anything that's hackable. And we're doing more and more of that. So people really are getting quite sophisticated about this. So,
Mark, I think we need good communication with the title people to copy us on those emails, because I've had several deals that it gets to a certain point and it's just a communication between title and my client, and I don't get to see able to check routing numbers and look at it. You know what I mean? It's already they're talking and I don't know what they've talked about. So
yeah.
Well, those numbers should never be sent through email.
Yeah,
the hackers are too good, and they go in and change it, and you'll receive an email that looks like it's never been touched, and the number's been changed.
And I two-step authentication on all my emails, and I tell my clients that.
Yeah, and you're probably unusual. I mean, you're probably taking some unusual steps, because most people don't really take that kind of time and effort to protect their emails. But communication with your client, communication with your title company is absolutely critical.
Mark, I was going to say, I usually do that. If I get anything from title, I just make a phone call to them and make sure, you know, that they did send it, or give them the information. But usually we'll go to closing, and then right there at title is where they give them that information to go and do the wire transfer right after signing.
Yeah. We had an experience very early on when we started to teach this class and talk about this problem, where it was a real estate agent who had been hacked on her very own transaction, about $140,000, and she had sort of got her spidey senses tingling on some of the parts of the transaction that in retrospect, she wished that she had sort of followed up on. And one of the things that she found to be a little irregular was that the title company called her and identified. So somebody called her and identified themselves as being from the title company, the closer from the title company. And she felt like what was odd was that when they introduced themselves, they said, well, we're in the middle of a closing, but we just wanted to make sure that you got those instructions. And she knew enough about the industry to know that it would be very unusual or very irregular for an escrow officer to stop in the middle of a closing to go in and call to ask if the instructions had been received. And so she identified some other little red flags, and there are some red flags that we'll go through, but she had a sense that something wasn't right. Now, your client doesn't have that. So the point being, you make sure that you're the one, if you're the one that's confirming with your title company, you're the one that's calling a title company that you know and talking to a person at the title company that you know. And you are not calling the number on the wiring instructions or any email that you've received with a telephone number, because those are very easy to falsify as well. You're calling somebody an established number that you're very familiar with and that you have not been provided with by anybody that you're not familiar with. And so, yeah, she thought that, she'd had a communication from the title company. The problem was that had been falsified. And so just to follow up on something Beth said, yeah, these hackers are really sophisticated. They are really good. And so they can duplicate an email and an email address and pictures and names of the company and the logos and everything else just absolutely flawlessly. The only difference will be that there will be one number off, a telephone number that is one digit off. If it's a routing number or an account number, with an account number, the account number will be one number off. And so there will just be something a little bit different. Now, once in a while, you will get something that is so fraudulent that it makes it comical. And so does anybody have do you have the outline? Does anybody have the outline? Well, I'm going to hold this up and we'll see if you can read it. This is one that came out of our Bountiful office, and it was a wiring instruction. And disregard the word fraud written at the top of it, right? Most of these hackers do not write the word fraud on their wiring instructions. That would be nice. You could identify it immediately if they would. That'd be very convenient, but they don't. So if you can read this, can you guys see this? Can anybody see from looking at that what seems to be a little bit off on this document? It's going to be hard to read, but anybody?
It's the address is out of state.
That's
at the bottom it said routine number instead of routing number.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So let me talk to Pauline and then to Brandon. If you see an address on a bank address that is out of the country, that is a real giveaway. Or if it's a foreign address, that is a real giveaway, because most of these payoffs go to domestic banks. This particular one in Ohio wouldn't necessarily raise a red flag because, the wires could go to anywhere around the country, the payoffs. But on this particular one, we kind of had a conversation with somebody at the FBI, and they said, what happens is that some of these foreign hackers will actually have partners or comrades in banks that are participating in the fraud. And so the money will go to a legitimate bank, but then it will be flagged by a person at that domestic bank and then immediately sent offshore to the organization offshore. So yes, if you see it, it's worthwhile to look at an address and see where it's going, and that could be a red flag. What Brandon said is absolutely right. There's no such thing as a routine number on a wire instruction. It's a routing number, and so sometimes they get the terminology right, and sometimes they don't get the terminology right. So misspellings, mispronunciations, just odd little anachronistic things is something that you can look for. This one you might not have noticed. I'll throw it up there again. If you look at the very second line at the top, it says settlement, right? This should say wiring instruction as opposed to, well, it does say wiring instruction, but settlement. That's not language that would appear on a wiring instruction. That's just somebody who's taken some of the terminology from an escrow closing and they've incorporated it to make it sound like they know what they're talking about. And not only that, but one of the words settlement is misspelled.
Yeah.
So it's redundancy and it's also misspelled. And then, that's just a few things that you look for. So some of the red flags on wire fraud are odd spellings, foreign sounding phrases or clauses. One of the really big ones, and something that you really need to be aware of, is any sort of sudden change. A movement of some sort that you didn't expect, a last minute change in a payoff, or on a wiring instruction. Anything last minute is sort of something that is a red flag that maybe something is not completely copacetic, and so that would be something to watch. And like I mentioned, real estate transactions are really vulnerable because of those things that I had mentioned. A lot of activity, a lot of players, a lot of money, a lot of fog, a lot of rushing, and that's why we need to be really, really up to date now, or kind of vigilant. So let me go through this. Time for a letter. Time for a letter. Everybody got it? Letter is Z. Anybody have any questions for Stewie while he's right here? All right, we'll move on. Now, I'm sure you're doing this, right, Jennifer? You've got everybody using the state's wire fraud addendum.
Absolutely, it is required to have your file processed.
Yeah, and this is one of those places where it's probably a really good idea to take a few minutes and go through it and talk about it. And this is just by way of review. Let's just go through what this addendum, it's like a tutorial for you and for your clients. Never trust wiring instructions sent via email. We really don't do that anymore. We try not to do that anymore. Never send personal information such as social security numbers, bank account numbers, and credit card numbers unless it is through secured encrypted email or personal delivery to the intended recipient. And I will go one step further for real estate people. There is no reason for you to even have that information in your possession. There's no reason for you to have social security numbers or account numbers or PINs or anything like that. That is what is called NPPI, non-public personal information. And the federal government, under the Graham-Leach-Bliley Act and some other security or consumer kinds of laws, have made it really incumbent upon people that are dealing with financial transactions, clients that are doing financial transactions, makes it very incumbent upon you to protect that information. So if you have any of this NPPI in your possession and you're not protecting it, you could really be vulnerable. Now, knock on wood, everybody, we haven't seen any litigation or lawsuits in Utah against real estate licensees for not protecting that information, or for having a client that got lost money in a mail fraud situation, but they have in other states. So they have in California and back east, and some agents have been held liable for negligence in not protecting their clients' private information. So it hasn't happened here yet, and we don't want it to. Now, what I would do is I would always let your client know what the title company needs that information. The title company is going to be asking you for social security numbers, because we need that. We need that information to get payoffs from banks, and we need it to identify judgment holders and things like that, to try to eliminate people with common names that have judgments against them. So we need that information, but you really don't need it. And we don't need you to get it for us. We're fine with you telling your folks they'll be asking you for it, and you can feel confident in giving it to them. But that's as far as I would go if I were you. Go ahead.
Sorry. I know with a couple of my title companies that I've used, they have like that portal, that's secret portal, so that your clients can put the information in and it's just kept within that portal.
Yeah, we do the same thing. I think. I'm not an escrow expert, but all of our emails are encrypted, and so these encryption processes use these logarithms where they identify what appears to be that kind of information, and it's automatically encrypted and kept secure. So, but again, we have very strict fiduciary duties to protect all that information. I mean, our files have to be kept under lock and key, and our check stock and all kinds of things that we have to do to comply with. So always independently confirm wiring instructions. Okay, and this is just absolutely critical. I mean, we can't reiterate it enough. Always independently confirm wiring instructions by personally speaking with the intended recipient of the wire to confirm the routing number and account number. Always confirm that the contact information for the wire transfer recipient is legitimate. Call a verified number. Always take steps to secure the system you are using with your email accounts, such as using strong passwords and secure Wi-Fi. So let me tell you about a product that Stewart has. It's called Certified. And Certified is we teamed up with a company that verifies and ensures wiring instructions for buyers mostly. Certainly sellers in certain circumstances if they are having to bring money in, but principally for buyers. And so Certified is a system that is a product that will insure losses due to wire fraud for up to $1 million. And it's a company, Lloyd's of London. You've probably heard of Lloyd's of London. So Lloyd's of London is actually the insurer of up to $1 million. And it costs $5 a transaction. And we use it almost in almost every closing where the buyers and the sellers are not personally in attendance at the closing and being handed the wiring instructions. So in any circumstance, where we are not personally handing the wiring instructions to the parties, we automatically use this, insure these folks through this certified product. And it costs $5 a transaction. And it's really worth the price. And so people can opt out, and they can opt in, and they can opt out. But so far, we haven't had anybody, for $5 when they understand the nature of the problem, actually opt out. So, or very few people. So, and I don't know who else is doing that. There could be some other title companies that are doing it, but we're really comfortable with it. We think it's been really helpful. So now,
do you have to ask for that, or do you automatic? Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question.
If you want to be extra careful, you could bring it up with your escrow officer. But we're doing it on every transaction where the folks don't opt out and where they're not being personally handed the wiring instructions.
So don't most title companies have insurance? I was going to ask you, what happens when there is some fraud?
It's lost. The money is lost. If the money cannot be recovered, the money's lost. And there is no E&O insurance that covers wire fraud.
Oh, that's what my question was. So who?
Yeah. So that E&O would protect the covered party, which would be the title company. So if we maybe got sued on a wire fraud claim, our E&O might indemnify us. They might protect us, but they're not going to protect the party who lost the money. And if you go to banks, they will make it quite clear to you when you wire money from your credit union or from your bank. They are quite diligent in making sure that you have verified the instructions, that the party to whom the money is being wired is aware that the money is coming, and that they will not be responsible. And so just about every time I wire money, they make sure that I understand that they will not be responsible in the event of a hack, of a wire fraud. And so they will not be responsible for it. So it is the job of the sender of the money to verify that the money is going to the right place. So now, go ahead.
Errors and omission insurance that agents get for themselves, it does not cover wire fraud.
I would be very surprised if it did. Now, if you were sued for negligence, or some sort of an intentional, well, I don't know about an intentional tort, but if you were sued for some other reason, you might have some coverage. But you can't count on that. If you do get in trouble on something like this, you can't count on that protecting your client. Okay. Now, so I threw this in here. It's kind of instructive. It's just, well, what do you do? So what happens if you do have some wire fraud? And what I threw in here is something called a rapid response sheet from the American Land Title Association. And there could be something like this, equivalent from the NAR. I haven't seen anything from the UAR, but there could be something equivalent from the NAR. Hey, I'm going to do another letter. I didn't do this one yet, did I? Everybody see what that is? That is a V. That is a V. And I'm going to go through this. Apparently you don't have the outline, so I'm going to go through this really quickly. The first one, probably for most people, these are some steps to take. Let me just give you a little, just a quick little reminder. Wire fraud is a federal offense because it involves interstate commerce, interstate transaction, and wire transfers. So it is not a state offense. So if you have an issue, you're getting a hold of the FBI and you're relying on the FBI as opposed to a local cop or a local sheriff. So it is a federal offense, wire fraud. So it's the FBI you're contacting. So step number one on this rapid response plan is to alert company management and your internal wire fraud response team. My guess is Presidio, as wonderful a brokerage as it is, does not have an internal wire fraud response team. Is that fair to say?
Correct, we do not.
That's Jennifer. That's you calling Jennifer and saying, holy crap, what do I do, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And then Jennifer calling the title company and saying, holy crap, what do we do?
Yeah.
So now at Stewart, we do have several safeguards, and we also have a centralized funding company. So, and most things, disbursements and things go through this centralized disbursement program or a company. And so if we know immediately that something's up, we might be able to stop it at our level. But that would take almost an instantaneous recognition of what has happened. So number 2 is obvious. Report fraudulent wire transfers to the sending and receiving banks. So you got to get a hold of the bank on both ends and alert them about what's going on. And some money that has been recovered because the response was so quick that the bank hadn't actually wired the money yet. There was a little lag time in the wiring of the money, and so they hadn't wired the money, or that they were able to intercept it on the receiving end and stop the transaction from being completely consummated. So obviously you're not going up to a window and you're not talking to a teller at the window. You're getting on the phone, you're going into the bank and talking to whoever is responsible for fraud response at a higher level than somebody that's just sitting behind a counter. And so those people will know how to trigger what is called the kill switch for the FBI, and what kind of claim, what kind of contact to make with the FBI to start tracking this money. So, and then I think that that's actually not only the second step, but I think it's the fourth step. So you need to call and you need to follow up. And I had mentioned earlier that I have known of people that have recovered money because they had a very active bank that was very concerned with getting that money back, even though they are not technically legally responsible for it. So you've got to do that. Step number 3 is report fraudulent wire transfers. Says local police, sheriff, FBI, field office, Secret Service. Like I said, local police and sheriff are not who you're going to contact. You're going to contact the FBI, and it's the Salt Lake field office. So there is a Salt Lake field office, and that is who you would be contacting. And they know what to do to activate this kill chain. So inform the parties to the transaction: buyer, seller, real estate agents, broker, attorneys, underwriters, notary, etc. So I had mentioned attorneys earlier. I don't know that there are any attorneys necessarily that are adept at wire fraud issues. What lawyers are adept at is making threats and frightening people. So I don't think that you need to necessarily go to a wire fraud attorney. I don't know that there are any, but it's worthwhile to get somebody on your side if you need somebody. And you might have some corporate counsel that represents Presidio that you could go to. Review your incident response plan to determine if you need to update passwords, secure hardware. Review email logs to determine how and when email accounts were accessed. On most of the transactions that we have seen involving wire fraud, the hacks are coming on your end from the real estate agents. So it's your emails that are being intercepted. And that's not to cast aspersions. It's just to put you on notice that you are particularly vulnerable. So I think most people know that if you use Yahoo or Gmail or one of those services, you've probably already been hacked. And so consider changing your passwords, considering beefing up your encryption services if you do encrypt. There are companies that will do private encryption. It's not very expensive, and they will help you encrypt your emails if you're really worried about it. But if I were you, what I would worry about is just what we have talked about, contacting your title companies and getting a hold of them directly. Then document your response using a response worksheet. File a complaint with the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center, IC3. And then it's just got some information on there on what kind of information you need to give to them. Now, we have been asked this, and this will be kind of our parting shot. Why do we have to use wires? Well, because the rules that the insurance department have laid down have really made it almost mandatory that you use wiring instructions, or excuse me, you use wire funds. And so we have what is called the Good Funds Law. And the Good Funds Law says that a title company cannot disperse money, commissions, checks until the money that they have received has been cleared and collected. And cleared and collected means that it's actually sitting in their account and will stay sitting in their account before it gets dispersed. And so cashier's checks, personal checks, cash, we don't like those things. Cash is cumbersome and dangerous. So we don't want people bringing in $1 million worth of cash. And we don't like personal checks, and we don't like cashier's checks. Those checks have to be cleared before they're collected funds. And so it could take, cashier's checks can be reversed. They can be stopped. And for these things to clear banks, it could be days, and nobody's willing to wait days for an old-fashioned check to actually clear the bank before the recording can be done and the check's cut. So it's really safer doing it this way for everybody's interest, but it's just got to be protected. So, all right, I think we got one last letter. Hopefully everybody's still awake.
Your video went out on mine. I can't see anything.
Letter is Q.
Who's that from?
Q.
Thank you.
Letter is Q.
I went ahead and put my email into the chat. It's ehoman, EHOHMAN @stewart.com. So please email me the letters, and then we can give you your credits. And if anybody doesn't have access to the Google Doc, let me know.
Please repeat your email.
EHOHMAN @stewart.com. It's in the chat as well.
And you need our license number too?
That will go on the Google Doc. Tana has that, that I think she's going to be sending out to everyone.
Okay.
Or she was going to put it in the chat, I think. Tana, are you there?
Yeah, I've been chatting to each person individually that hasn't put their email on there, so that I can send them that PDF. So if you haven't put your email on there, please do before this is over, so I can record it and send you the PDF so you can get credit. Thanks.
Okay, well, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions or anything before we go?
Nope.
Thank you.
I thought you scared me a lot.
Good. That's good.
I just want to say that at Presidio, we take it really seriously. So we do something that stands out in the seller's mind, or buyer's mind. We make all our agents tell their clients to hold their hand to the square, because when they get physically involved in doing something, they won't forget that. So when we're making them sign that wire fraud form, we say, hold your hand to the square and tell me that you promise you will pick up the phone if you get any emails that say to wire something, and you will call either me or call the title company and verify those instructions. And so so far we've never had any yet, but we're crossing our fingers it never happens. It's just so dangerous.
Right.
Good practice.
Excellent.
Well, thank you. This was a great class today to remind us how serious it is. We sure wouldn't want to be on the side of losing somebody $150,000 or anything like that. So,
right.
Oh, can you imagine? It would be so hard. Anyway, thank you so much. Watch out for that email from Tana for the spreadsheet. Oh, there it is at the bottom.
I've also put it in the chat, a link in the chat. If you want to go there, you can put in your keywords and your name and license number and all that. If you just click on that link, it will take you to a little questionnaire thing, a little Google form.
Perfect. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting us join you today. We really appreciate it.
We'll be thinking about the puppet next week when some other title company's teaching.
Oh, are we doing one next week? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
No.
I guarantee that guy's not going to have a puppet.
He's not going to have it. He's not going to have it.
Not going to have it.
Thank you so much. Have a great week, okay?
All right.
All
See
right.
ya.
Talk to you guys soon. Bye.